Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Strathclyde Going for Gold, a one-off special event to celebrate Strathclyde's excellence on the sporting stage. It's been a fantastic time to be involved with sport in the city, and the buzz around the Commonwealth Games this summer is only increasing now that we have less than 100 days to go until the opening ceremony. At Strathclyde, this is an enthusiasm that we've seen firsthand, with sports union membership increasing to over 2,100 members in the run-up to the Games. This is equating to an increase of over 60% since the London Olympics, and we expect this to continue further moving into 2015. Firstly, I would like to thank Gemma Elliott, Ian McPhee and the Alumni Fund for their continued support to the Sports Union, including this event tonight. We've received over £25,000 in funding this year towards sports club activity, and the Sports Union would certainly not be where it is today without this generous support. I would also like to thank Gordon Hodge and the events team for their assistance in putting on such a fantastic event this evening. We've got a fantastic lineup in store for you tonight who have proved outstanding in their sports and will share their experiences of competing for Great Britain and Scotland at the Olympics, Paralympics and Commonwealth Games. So without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to your host for this evening, Alison Walker.
Thank you, James. Good evening, everyone. Delighted to be here and great to be with you for this very special celebration of the sporting achievements of Strathclyde University students over the past 50 years. For those of you out there who don't know me, I did play a lot of sport at university. I absolutely loved it, but was never quite good enough to make it to the top level. Actually, quite good enough, wasn't even close. I was absolutely hopeless. But anyway, what's the next best thing for me? Get to the big events as a sports broadcaster. And so I pursued that, and I was very lucky in my job with the BBC and other employers. And I've met and interviewed hundreds of inspiring and amazing sportsmen and sportswomen. And the group of Strathclyders we have assembled here are no exception. They'll give us a flavour, as James said, of what it's like to train and compete for your country at the highest level. We have an Olympic silver medalist, a multiple Paralympic cycling medalist, a Commonwealth gold medalist, and an international badminton player with hopes for Glasgow 2014. Of course, as James said, it's getting closer and closer, isn't it? The Commonwealth Games here in Glasgow, a little more than a couple of months away. I remember that day in Glasgow, I think 5 years ago, and I can't remember how I felt then, but I remember thinking what a long time away it is, but it's almost here. We'll be getting the latest on Team Scotland's preparations very shortly from a man in the know. And I'll be chatting to our sports guests over the next half hour or so, but there's also an opportunity when I've done that for you guys to ask them questions yourselves, so please have a think about what you might like to know. First of all, though, let's get a bit of insight into how things are going with Team Scotland in relation to the Commonwealth Games. The man to tell us all about that is someone who's been steeped in all things sport and Commonwealth Games for what seems like his whole life. He was an international athlete, coach, team manager. He even crossed over onto the dark side, working as a media officer. However, back to a proper job, and he's had to have some broad shoulders as chairman of Commonwealth Games Scotland in 2010 in Delhi, and of course for Glasgow 2014. I know how passionate he is about the Commonwealth Games, but I'll leave him to tell you all about that. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Michael Cavanagh.
Thanks, Alison. At least I think I mean thanks. I was thinking when I was coming up tonight that this is actually only the second time in my life I've been in this building, and the last time was about 30-something years ago, and I think I was probably somewhere around here watching a band called Racing Cars. Now, there's some people in the audience who might remember Racing Cars, and for the younger ones, it's on YouTube. They only had one hit single called They Shoot Horses, Don't They? It's worth a listen. But so that's what was going through my mind earlier. But as Alison said, more than anything, what goes through my mind on a daily basis and has been for quite some time is Glasgow 2014 and particularly what that means for Team Scotland. I was talking to someone earlier tonight just before we started and said that, and I think most people are surprised by this whole project, the whole Glasgow 2014 Commonwealth Games, for those of us in Commonwealth Games Scotland, and we're the Commonwealth Games Association here in Scotland, it's been a 12-year project. It actually started when the Games were in Manchester in 2002, and it started from The then First Minister, Jack McConnell, visited the Games, and there are two things that really stuck out for him, and I've spoken to Jack since then, and he confirms this. One is he couldn't believe the transformation in the city of Manchester that the Games had actually created. And I know that well, because my sport of wrestling, our national centre is based in Manchester, and I've spent far too much of my life in Manchester, and I noticed an enormous difference. So that's one part of it. But he also was really proud of what the Scottish team did there. We had a very good team performance, and he saw how together we were as a team and how hard people were working and how proud they were to compete for Scotland. And he did just ask the question about, I wasn't at the meeting, I hasten to add, but at a meeting, could we host the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, in Scotland? And of course the answer was definitely, of course we could. Now whether we should do, we took a bit more time to think about that. So 12 years ago it started. Around 2004, 2005, we really sharpened up and we decided we would definitely go for it, and Commonwealth Games Scotland were involved in choosing. There were two cities, obviously, in Scotland who were interested, both Glasgow and Edinburgh. Edinburgh had hosted the Games twice before. It was a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest, that Glasgow would get it, because Glasgow, as anybody who's been in this city recently, has invested incredibly in fantastic sports facilities, and we knew Glasgow would be a really strong bid. And from that period in 2004 up to 2007, when we won the Games, there was a really strong partnership between ourselves, because the bid had to come from Commonwealth Games Scotland. But it was really important that we got both Scottish Government on side and Glasgow City Council on side. And I have to say that partnership's been really strong, and I think it's what we're going to see this summer. You'll actually see the fruits of what has been, certainly in terms of that partnership, about a 9 or 10 year partnership. I chair the body called Commonwealth Games Scotland that picks the team that goes to every Games, and we regard that as a real honour and a privilege, but we take it very seriously. Backstage we were talking about some issues around selection at the moment. One thing we're very clear on is that although this is a home Games, nobody in Team Scotland this year will be there simply because it's a home Games. We discovered a way back as far as 1998 when we first started to put selection standards in place, that by doing that, what we actually do is our athletes work harder to make the team. So since 1998, it's pretty much been, in general, the same principles apply. You need to prove to us that you can finish in the top 8 or the top half of the field, otherwise you don't get to go to the Games. And I'm going to touch on it later on in terms of what that means in terms of team size this year. But what it's done for every game since 98, 2002, 2006, 2010 is our athletes have performed incredibly well because they're working harder to make the team, and we think that's really important. For this year, we've got a target, which we've agreed with our partners, and partners are Scottish Government and Glasgow City, and that target is simply to have our best ever Games. And what does best ever mean? Well, for us, in 1986, when the Games were last in Scotland, and there only were about 37 countries taking part compared to the 71 who'll be here this year, we won 33 medals in total. So we've set that as our benchmark. We will have our best ever medal performance, more than 33 medals, and I'm really confident that our team will do that this year. There's another kind of sub-target, which we don't talk about quite so much, but it's in our heads, we're still aiming for it, and it's to have our best ever gold medal performance. We won 11 gold medals in Melbourne in 2006. And gold is a really tough commodity to win at a multi-sport Games, at the Commonwealth Games and Olympics. But we're asking our athletes to basically aim for gold. And we're, as I said, confident of our 33 medals. 11 gold is a real challenge, but I think our athletes are up for that challenge. One thing we've thought is really important is that we need to take this opportunity in having a home Games to make sure that the Scottish public get behind our team. We know they will, but we're taking no chances. We launched a campaign just less than a year ago, April 2013, called Go Scotland. So for those of you who are interested, there's a website called goscotland.org. And the whole idea of Go Scotland was to actually make sure that across the 17 sports in the Games, across Team Scotland within those 17 sports, we make sure the Scottish public know who the athletes are, know how hard they've worked, know the amount of commitment they've had to put in to make the team, and also know the passion that they have for competing for Scotland. And it's been interesting because we thought we may have to encourage our athletes to speak using those words like hard work and commitment and passion. But we've been announcing our athletes over the last few weeks, and they don't get any coaching from us, and that's what they talk about, is how much this means to them and how passionate they are about competing for Scotland, particularly when it's at home. So we're really proud of them and proud of that, and we hope in the Go Scotland campaign principally what it's about is actually asking the Scottish public to get behind the team, because it's obviously really important. We saw that in London 2012. The response in the full stadia, which we expect also to have here in Glasgow, the response of the athletes to the crowd getting behind them was fantastic, and we're looking forward to that being replicated here. And of course, it doesn't get much more passionate than a home Scottish crowd, does it? And that brings me on to something that's been important to us from the start. Home advantage is something that, when you host something as big as the Commonwealth Games, you're up against the best in the Commonwealth, that goes without saying, but you need to take every advantage you can. Now, we've had a very clear philosophy in this. We've actually worked really hard to maximise our home advantage. And the reason we've done that is because we're very clear, and we actually remind people in Glasgow 2014 and people in the Scottish Government and City and other partners that no matter how good the games are, the games in general, and they will be fantastic, believe me, they won't be seen as an overall success unless Team Scotland's successful. So we've had a policy of, we see ourselves as first amongst equals, if you like. We're not asking anybody to be disadvantaged on our behalf. But there are things like, we've had some influence over the competition programme. So for those of you who've got tickets for the first few days, you won't be surprised to see that we've got some of our strongest sports up front. You'll actually see one of the athletes tonight, Robbie Rennick, a swimmer. Swimming's on the first few days of the Games. We've got some fantastic medal opportunities in swimming. In fact, on the first night in swimming, Hannah Miley in the 400 individual medley and Michael Jamieson in the 200-metre breaststroke are both gone in the finals. Now, that's not been by accident. And part of that also comes from previous experience of knowing that in Melbourne, for example, we got off to a fantastic start with Caitlin McClatchy and David Carey winning gold medals on the pool the first night. The lift that gives the whole team, that's what we're trying to replicate this time, and it's not just lifting the team, we want to lift the whole country. And we're really confident we're going to do that. There's other things at home advantage. We get to pick where we live in the village. We get first choice, and we've got some criteria we apply to that. We've got a nice quiet section of the village where we don't have to walk too far to get to transport and food, which are the two things athletes worry about most. So that might not seem important, but it's that attention to detail that we know the athletes are putting in on a daily basis. We, as Team Scotland, need to replicate that to really give them the best chance. And I've touched on it already. The home support, the advantage of having some home support cannot be underestimated. We think our athletes will be inspired by the noise and the passion coming from the stands. When we decided to bid for the Games with government and city, we probably had slightly different legacy aspirations, if you like, and that's fine, because I think all of them will be met. But ours were two things in particular. One is we believe that we can actually inspire this nation, and by doing so, lots of good things can come from that. And those lots of good things are up to all of us here, all of us in this room and all of us outside here. Legacy can be anything you want it to be, but we think our athletes and our team will actually play their part by simply making Scotland feel better about ourselves. And I've touched on already, Scottish support for Team Scotland's a big part of that. But the second part for us was we needed to make sure that there was a performance sports structure in Scotland. We already had one. The Institute of Sport's been in place since 1998. But not every one of the 17 sports had performance programmes and coaches. And one thing we did with Scottish Government and Sports Scotland is make sure every single sport has had performance staff and performance funding. I suppose what it's created, and we use this phrase a lot, it's created a no excuses mentality. None of our guys will step on the line or on the court or on the mat or in the pool thinking that they're up against people who are better supported than they are. We believe our Scottish athletes are as well supported as any in the Commonwealth, and it's actually up to them to deliver, and they understand that. And the crucial thing about that is also to make sure 2014 shouldn't be seen as a one-off. This isn't about simply investing in athletes and sport because we're at home. It's really crucial. We think by our team performing as well as I expect them to, that we actually win the case to say, let's keep doing this, because it's really important for our athletes, but it's also really important for the country to give us something to be proud of. We want Team Scotland to always be one of the top Commonwealth Games nations. And finally, apart from Team Scotland, which is obviously what I'm really passionate about, I am passionate generally about the Games. That 12-year project I mentioned earlier, we won the Games in late 2007. We spent 4 years basically planning. You probably didn't see very much happening in Glasgow. Those of you around Glasgow probably didn't notice very much until about 2012. But really, the planning's done, and now it's about delivering a wonderful Games. And I I'm privileged to be close to all the organisation that's going on. I know the detail of what's going to happen, and believe me, Glasgow will deliver the most fantastic games, and I can't wait to share that with everybody. But one thing I will say is, what's really clear is when you're organising something like the Commonwealth Games, you need to get it right at the time it needs to be right. There are no second chances. And I think that's been really important also for people in 2014 and the government and the city to understand, because we keep reminding them that's what it's like for athletes. You need to be ready at the time that your race or your match or your bout is about to start. There's no point in saying, I'd have been better 24 hours later. And the same thing applies to the Games. The Games will be ready. They are ready already. We're actually champing at the bit, less than 90 days to go at the moment, and we can't wait. And I'm going to finish just by showing a video clip. And the phrase that comes to my mind, because I'm a Glaswegian, as I hope you can probably tell from my accent, the phrase that comes to my mind is, bring it on. So let's watch the video.
Back all the way, and Wells is there. He's looking to get there, and he does.
This Lynch takes the 10,000 metres gold.
One moment of brilliance.
Just made history.
Tom Davies got the gold. Oh yes! Oh yes!
This is the place for live writing, poetry, rock and roll.
Crowd can proudly say, I was
there. The number of times the words we and our and us is used in there, and that's the crucial thing. It's not my games, it's not Team Scotland's games, it actually belongs to everybody, and I hope you are part of it and enjoy it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. If I could just, oh, yeah, I was about to say, could you take a seat, but off you go. Anyway, let's introduce some of our Strathclyde sporting greats to the stage. First of all, please welcome Michael Goodfellow, curling silver medalist at the 2014 Winter Olympic Games in Sochi and a University of Strathclyde graduate with honours in history. We have Patrick McHugh, international badminton player and student at Strathclyde Business School, aiming for Glasgow 2014. Aileen McGlynn, OBE, Paralympic cycling medalist at London 2012. Aileen graduated in 1995 with a BSc honours degree in mathematics, statistics and management science. And we also have 2010 Commonwealth swimming gold medalist in Delhi, Robbie Rennick, who studied engineering here and was Sportsperson of the Year 4 times. Robbie, are you there? Okay, Robbie. Right, let's get down to it, Robbie, then, as you say. We'll start with you. Commonwealth Games, you were watching, I don't know whether you've seen the video, but I know Commonwealth Games is something that is very, very close to your heart.
Yeah, it certainly is. For me, I find like the Commonwealth Games is almost my Olympic Games. When it comes to the Olympic Games, you're up against every single country in the world, and you know the Americans, the Chinese. You may get a swimmer like Michael Phelps, Ryan Lochte, Sun Yang, and you know, for me to win a gold medal at the Commonwealth Games is far more exciting than coming sixth at the Olympics. So, you know, although the Olympics is the pinnacle of sport, I'm just super excited to have a home Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, tell us about Glasgow. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm sure many of you are really excited as well, and it's going to be a fantastic Games, and the swimming team is looking very, very good. So it's going to be really exciting. Hopefully we can deliver some medals, but it's going to be really tough to beat the Australians and even our neighbours, the English. So hopefully we can get some more gold medals, and myself, I'll be looking forward to trying to get my 200-metre title back.
And 2010 in Delhi, describe, I know you've talked about it many times, but describe that feeling of winning a gold medal for Scotland.
Yeah, it was very, very strange. It was, I came into the Games, I wasn't really ranked first, I was about 5th or 6th, so, you know, my expectation was to get a medal. But as soon as I was in that race, you know, turned the last 50 metres, I was just going for the gold medal. You know, I knew I was going to be close, and you know, it's what I train for every single day is to win these races at the top level at the Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games. So I actually won the race by 0.02 of a second. So it's a very fine margin, and I was glad to get the win. That's for sure. And it was just an amazing feeling. I didn't really realise how much of an impact it was till I got back here in Scotland, because when I was out in India, it's kind of like a bubble. You're not really aware of what's going on back home, so it's fantastic to have such a warm reception, and especially from the University of Strathclyde, it was brilliant.
And in terms of you, somebody tells me that you weren't happy with your celebration in the pool in Delhi.
Yeah, no, that's something Michael Cavanagh said I could probably improve, and I hope to get on top of that podium again, so we'll see.
And a new celebration.
Yeah.
And Aileen, paracycling is making its debut at the Commonwealth Games. This is a big year for you, and I guess and for the sport.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's first time it's been in, and you know, hoping to put on a good show for everybody.
Now, you were at Strathclyde in 1995. I know it's been an integral part of your life, but in terms of keeping going with the sport, what drives you?
I just really enjoy cycling. I love training, pushing to the limits every session, and yeah, it's really good. And I'm still, you know, I'm 41 this year, and I'm still glad that I'm able to do it.
And I know you had your lottery funding withdrawn after London. What made you keep going in that sense, and how are you managing?
Yeah, I'm just like having to cut back quite a bit. I do get a bit of support from Sport Scotland, which is kind of tiding me over, but I don't think I could survive long term on it. It was like October last year I was dropped. I was told that they didn't think I would win a gold medal in Rio. But you know, the paracycling squad is all about winning gold medals. It's not winning silvers and bronzes. So winning a silver and bronze in London is considered not good enough.
Well, extra incentive then for the summer, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are your chances? What do you think? How's the training going and how are you shaping up?
Yeah, it's going really well. A few weeks ago I did a time with one of my pilots, Louise Hassan. We were actually like 6,000ths of a second off setting a world record in the flying 200 metres. So we're really, up there and with a really good chance. But yeah, we've got like English team who are the sort of GB guys at the moment, so we've got to, be better than them. We've also got Australia and New Zealand, so it's going to be good competition.
Very competitive,
yes.
that event.
Yeah.
And in terms of, you've competed a lot for Team GB and also not as much possibly for Scotland.
No.
What is it about competing for Scotland that, Robbie touched on it, that makes it so special?
Well, this will be my first time ever competing for Scotland, so I'm really excited about that. Just having the solitaire on my back and just really, competing in front of a home crowd and getting that support. I think it'll be amazing. I'm really looking forward to it. And as Robbie said, it's like, to me, it's such a big thing. It's as big as the Paralympics to me, competing in Glasgow at the Commonwealth Games. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
And Patrick, for you, what was it like when you first competed for Scotland? Describe that feeling.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't really expecting to be selected, but after starting in September this year, leading up to the Commonwealth Games, there was quite a lot of pressure on us. But representing Scotland was probably one of the biggest moments of my career so far, and then hopefully be able to replicate it if we get selected for the Commonwealth Games.
Is it better almost that it was unexpected? Were you able to cope with it better? Did it intimidate? How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel 3 inches taller?
Yeah, probably 3 inches taller, because obviously the unexpected ones are always the better ones. I think anyway. Because if you start to expect it, then you just maybe relax too much going into the competition. But no, it was good.
So tell our audience where we are with the Commonwealth Games and competing for Team Scotland. Give us an update.
Well, the criteria for men's doubles in badminton was to reach the top 60 in the world for 4 weeks. And 2 weeks ago, we met that, and the criteria ended end of April. And apparently, I think the meeting was today to pick the team, or was sometime this week, and then it's announced on the 13th, so it's quite a nerve-wracking time.
But inside, you kind of think, I'm okay.
Inside, yeah, but I don't want to say it in case I jinx it.
In case something happens. Yeah. Why badminton?
That's a good question. My brother used to play when I was younger, so I obviously wanted to beat him. Was probably the main goal. But to be honest, I started out playing tennis, and then then badminton just started to take over, and then here I am, 10 years down the line, and it's hopefully competing at the Commonwealth Games.
And do you have dreams even beyond that?
Ideally, obviously, is to compete at the Olympics, but obviously the criteria for that is you need to be top 16 in the world, so it's quite a push. But on from this, still young, so hopefully I go on to the next Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast.
Well, Mike Goodfellow has, of course, competed at an Olympic Games, but I know you, when you compete for Scotland too, Mike, really love that feeling of playing for Scotland, don't you?
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world. That's what you train for. It's to represent your country, so it doesn't really bother me if it's Scotland or GB, so it's equally as important. And I remember the first time pulling on a Scotland jersey, it was something special and something I think all the curlers want to do, and especially in curling, as a Scottish sport, is really extra special. So,
tell everyone what it was like to win that medal in Sochi.
I suppose it's pretty hard to describe, but apart from saying it was amazing, it was the best moment of my life. It was wasn't unexpected, but we had a couple of tough seasons leading up to that, and to perform our best when it mattered was pretty amazing. And shame we didn't perform our best in the final, but I was still pretty happy with the
I remember speaking to you after you got the silver medal, and you were all so disappointed.
Yeah. It's one of it's one of those things. You just leading up to Olympics, you just want any colour because it's Olympic Games, and we're lucky enough to see Lizzie Arnold and Jenny Jones get their medals earlier on in the Olympic 2 weeks. So we're thinking, anywhere on the podium's amazing. And then we win the semi-finals, best feeling ever. Then we lose it. It's just we just had to remind ourselves that we're on the podium, so we're still pretty good. So.
So you're going to keep going? What's the plan for you?
I'm planning to keep on going, and the experience of the Olympics kind of drives me on, and the gold medal. I still don't have a gold medal. I've had a few silvers at Worlds and also silver at the Olympics, so the gold medal still the main goal and motivation to train for another 4 years.
And the World Championships, of course, you compete for Scotland.
Yeah,
not
yeah,
GB.
it's every year, yeah. So.
And Michael, I mean, you can tell from these guys just how much it all means to them, to play, to do whatever for their country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got the privilege of hearing this kind of thing on a daily basis because we're announcing athletes all the time at the moment. And exactly as these guys have described, that's the message we get from the athletes. They are, as to use Robbie's phrase, super excited about the games, and they just can't wait. And they're so proud to be representing Scotland at home games. It literally is a once in a lifetime experience for everybody, and yeah, you can feel the buzz.
How far are we away from knowing what the complete team will be? What's the kind of cut-off point?
We will announce our final team on the 12th of June, and the reason we do that is because that's the date by which we need to submit all the names no later than the following day. But we already have 122 athletes have been named in Team Scotland so far. There'll be a constant series of...
Oh. Falling cables?
There'll be a constant series of announcements over the next few weeks leading up to 12th of June, and probably there'll be about 3 or 4 sports that on that final day we'll announce. Track and field athletics, obviously, we'll leave it quite late because of their season. In terms of team size, the biggest number of athletes we've ever picked was 202 we picked to go to Manchester, and in fact 5 of them dropped out through injury, so we ended up taking 197. We've never had more than 200. Right now, we had a board meeting on Monday. Neil Sturrock, who's sitting there, is also on the board. I'm not allowed to give away too many secrets, but we thought we might get 220, 230. We're going to be well above that. We're heading above 270, it looks like, and we're heading somewhere towards 300. It's doubtful if we'll hit 300. Now, what that tells me, and I touched on it in what I was saying earlier on, we haven't made it easier to make the team.
No, they've all met specific criteria.
Robbie will tell you for swimming, it's based on the last 2 games and the times to get to the final. So it's just as hard to be in this team as it was to be in the team in Delhi and the team in Melbourne. But we're having many more Scots making a team, and that tells me a lot about, well, 2 things. One, the investment that's gone into across the board in the sports, and also just the commitment of the athletes, how hard they're actually working to be there. Because they realise they're not going to get picked because it's at home. They'll only get picked if they're good enough. And I think that's really important.
These guys here are kind of living the dream, but I'm sure maybe 1 or 2 of you out there might want to follow in their footsteps. Robbie, as a student here, what did it take? How did you balance your studies with your training? Did you study at all?
Well, to be honest, I didn't really balance it that well.
Right, okay.
For me, it was swimming's always been number 1. So my first 2 years at university, I kind of managed to just scrape by, and my training week consists of 25 hours in the pool a week, plus another 6 in the gym. So as you can imagine, it's almost like a full-time job for me. So trying to fit in university lifestyle was very challenging for me. But needless to say, I had a great time at Strathclyde University. It was such a fun degree course. I was doing sports engineering, so I really enjoyed it. But the last year, I've decided that I really just needed to focus full-time on training. And I've seen my performances, kind of improve because I've been able to get that recovery in during the day. I've been able to go on training camps, training with some of the best swimmers in the world. So it's kind of like a real lifestyle thing with swimming. It's all or nothing. It's kind of, you do it all, or there's not much point in doing it, because you need to keep improving every single year to compete at the highest level at the Olympic Games. They only give 1 gold medal out every 4 years, so it's in swimming, it's kind of like a young man's game. You've got to do it whilst you're still young. And I can always go back to university, after Rio 2016 when I plan to retire. So yeah. So
that's kind of the plan. You will finish things off.
Yeah, I mean, as long as my body holds on to Rio, I'm sure I'll be there, and I want to be competitive in the medals. That's for sure. Getting to the Olympic Games was my dream when I was 18, 19. I made Beijing Olympics, but now I've done it. I just want to get and win a medal.
Yeah, and for you, Aileen, did you do much cycling at university?
Yeah, I kind of cycled to lectures and stuff, and did the odd time trial, but I didn't really know anything about paracycling then. It wasn't until probably 8 years later that I discovered paracycling.
And how did all that start? How did you discover it?
Just searching on the internet, actually. Just went on the British Cycling website and saw that there was a paracycling squad and just made inquiries. How good did it have to be? And I was asked to go down to the Manchester Velodrome in 2002. I think it was after Commonwealth Games in Manchester. I watched Sir Chris Hoy win his gold medal.
Well, Sir Chris Hoy was your inspiration.
Yeah. It's like, oh, right, how, is there anything available for, paracyclists? So I went down and 2 days on the track. I'd never ridden a tandem before, never ridden a track before, and we were asked to see how fast I could go on the back with Barney Story on the flying 200 metres, and we actually broke the world record on that second day. So that was like, yeah, this looks quite promising.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah. So it and I was working. I'd got my degree. I was working full time as a trainee actuary, and I had to go back to my work and say, is there any chance I could get some time off to do a bit of cycling?
Just a bit of cycling.
Travel down to Manchester every second week or so and train, and that's how it kind of started.
I know you're very passionate about your cycling, but you're also very proud of your degree here, aren't you?
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Did maths, statistics and management science, and yeah, I was really enjoying my time at Strathclyde, really good university, so yeah, it was good.
And for you, Patrick, I know you're doing part-time. How's that all working out for you? Because you heard Robbie say, he needed to give it his full mettle and his full time. How's it working for you?
Yeah, I'd say this year has been probably quite a struggle to balance it out, even though I have been part-time and only been doing 1 or 2 subjects. It's just, with the amount of competitions we've been playing, it's been hard to find the time to actually want to open your books and do any studying, even though when you're away in competitions, you've got plenty of time to just, I don't know, lie in bed and just relax. That's the last thing you want to do is probably study.
So have you been doing that?
What, studying? Well, I've got an exam on Tuesday, so I've been doing some last-minute cramming. Yeah.
I guess this is quite a special year, isn't it? This last year.
Yeah. Well, also with the games coming up, I hate to say it, but the degree's probably taken a bit of a back seat this year. So, yeah.
And what about you, Mike, with balancing the two when you were here?
Yeah, it was the same before. It's quite hard to fit in all the studying and compete and recover as well. And I decided to go part-time my honours year, which I think really helped me, and the university were really helpful in that respect and gave me the opportunity to do that. It just meant that my studying didn't get affected and my curling didn't get affected either, which worked out pretty well.
So there's a support time-wise, but what about support financially as well? How does that all work out for you guys?
In terms of paying for my degree, I didn't actually get any help for that. Mum and Dad had to cover the part-time, but they were good enough to support me in that respect and say, okay, if we're going to give curling a better shot, we're happy to do that, and lucky enough, still got a good degree, and the curling's kind of taken off, so it was a good decision.
And what was your time like here?
Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. It was something to look back on fondly. Really enjoyed my course, met a lot of nice people, and loved the city of Glasgow, so it was, really fond memories.
And you are thinking of going back to education again, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to keep that balance between curling and normal life. Sometimes going back to the masters in sports coaching at Stirling University is more convenient since I train there. So I think going back, and hopefully that will take my mind off curling sometimes and let me concentrate on other things apart from curling, keep the motivation there. So.
I mean, Michael, everybody's experiences are different, but it seems more and more that, to balance the difficulty the guys have balancing everything up with work, whether it's work or studying or whatever, if they want to become and excel at their sport.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think all the athletes here have touched on it. It's the only way you're going to succeed. When I competed in 1 Commonwealth Games in 1982, and I was working full time, and there just simply wasn't a programme. And in fact, I've said this a number of times, when I went to Brisbane in 1982, when I stepped on the wrestling mat in Brisbane, it was the first time I'd ever competed outside the UK, because we had no money for a programme. And that's what I'm actually, one of the things I'm proudest of, is that if we have people like the 4 athletes we have on the stage here who are willing to actually make sacrifices and work really hard, the system in the main is good enough to actually allow them to achieve their objectives. There is, there are good coaches, there's good performance support, and if that's all in place, then the one ingredient needed for success is, well, 2 ingredients: talented athletes who are prepared to work hard, and we've got lots of them, and these guys, certainly the 3 guys will be. Michael obviously proved it this year what talent and hard work does, and these 3 guys get a chance to prove it again this summer. And I can't wait to see the likes of Robbie, Alien and Patrick actually do that in the summer, and as well as the 200 and something other Scots in Team Scotland.
No, you're not showing any favouritism. It always strikes me about swimmers in particular, Robbie, that you guys have to get up so early in the morning, and why would you take up swimming when you have to be up at 5 in the morning to get to the pool?
Yeah, it's
what drives you?
Really just
his mum, yeah, gets him there.
No, she doesn't, but she sometimes has to get me up, that's for sure.
How many years have you been doing that?
Probably since the age of about 11 or 12. It's kind of part of swimming. It's really, the idea is to get a training session in before you go to school, you go to work or university. So that's why we start really, really early. And I find I'm done by 6:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking to myself, this is crazy, because most people are still not out of bed yet.
That is not a student lifestyle.
No,
is it?
no, it wasn't. And it was crazy, because when I was at university, I would hear students moaning about a 9 a.m. lecture, and I'm up at 4:30 in the morning. So it's a different life, that's for sure.
And it becomes a way of life, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, with swimming, it's you really got to keep the lifestyle, your diet, your motivation. Everything has to be, spot on at the highest level, because you've got to keep improving every year, that's for sure. If you want to get to the Olympic Games and be competitive in the medals, if you're not doing it, you can guarantee someone else in another part of the world is doing it. So you kind of, that itself kind of motivates me to get up at these early times in the morning, and setting short-term goals as well as long-term goals. And they can be from anything from, trying to get a certain time in training, trying to lift a certain weight in the gym, and trying to race a certain time. So all these little things kind of have helped me a lot to motivate myself in training, especially, when it comes to the winter months. You're grinding out. You're basically living in darkness, because you get up at 4:30 in the morning, it's dark, you go training, you come back, it's dark, go back to bed, go to the gym, get back, it's dark again.
Why would you?
So yeah, it's
all in the pursuit of that.
Yeah, it's crazy, but swimming is a relatively short career, so I've got to make the most of it.
And Aileen, I guess you can relate to a lot of that in terms of the hours of training and the relentless nature sometimes of training, and setting yourself short-term targets as well to keep you going.
Yeah, thankfully I don't have to go up that early though. I couldn't do it. No, I'm a bit more flexible with the cycling, which is good. But yeah, you do. It's like every week you're in the gym. You're like trying to push lift a heavier weight. Try and produce PBs. Every year, so that you still feel you're improving and going faster every time you try and. Or you get on the tandem, I want to see progression. I'm very much probably coming from a maths background, very number orientated, and facts, and seeing progression and trends and stuff. So, yeah.
And you have a bit of an advantage because you've been training at the velodrome. So,
yeah.
Could that help come the summer?
Oh yeah. It's
just what
very
Michael was saying about having our own.
Yeah, very different track from any that I've trained on before. It's very steep, so there's definitely a knack to. Especially the flying 200 metres is a knack to the track, and the lines are slightly offset, so people were expecting to finish earlier on the flying 200 metre effort, but it's actually further round, so we've got a bit more knowledge of that.
Yeah, and for you, Patrick, give us some idea of your training schedule.
It's pretty much 5 days a week, so we're doing about 5 hours each day, so it's about 3 in the morning, which is on court, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, which is either a weight session or a physical session, which is pretty full on. And then obviously we've got a 3-hour lunch break, but that soon flies by, unfortunately. And then the weekend.
That's when you do your studying.
Yep, correct. And then the weekends we've just got a circuit in the morning, and then that just leaves us for the rest of the weekend to study and catch up on sleep. Yeah.
Yes. And Mike, what about, I know you were on the four-year programme leading up to Sochi, and that was pretty much full on and full time, wasn't it?
Yes, like these guys were saying, it's every day in nice rink early in the morning for a morning session with the coach, and then we go to the gym, and then we come back in the afternoon, and there's again another session on ice, and then go to the gym afterwards. Again, it's kind of a mix up between cardiovascular training and weight training as well. And we'd also, as well as that individual training, we'd do training as a team as well, because curling there's lots of issues with team dynamics and communication, which are really important for us to succeed. So we meet up as a team. One of the guys lived in Aberdeen, so he'd come down to Perth, meet us up as a team once a week, and we'd train together for 4 hours. Another 4 guys we'd kind of train together the rest of the time, but not on specific team things, so it's pretty full on.
You didn't have any early starts, did you?
Not as early as 4:30 or 5. It's maybe 8 o'clock. But I couldn't be a swimmer. Like it was. I definitely
we are
in
not
bed,
worthy
so.
of you. We're all saying, oh, in fact, you can even get up that early. Never mind, you're a Commonwealth gold medalist. In terms of the training for curlers, I mean, that has really changed, and these guys at the top level are really fit now. It used to be the case that in curling they weren't that fit, but they could still win things. But
yeah, exactly.
It's true. So the Olympics have changed everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like since it became an Olympic sport in '98 again, I think it was. Might be wrong in that, but I'm not 100% sure. But it's become a lot more professional, and people are realising that it's just like any other sport. There's Olympic medal at the end of it. It's the same prize. So there's, I think I'm not sure when curling started getting funded by the Scottish Institute of Sport as well. That's also helped the professionalism and beginning to realise that we can do a lot more with the sport and other just turn up and just rely on pure talent. So I think it's a good thing for the sport.
Well, as you guys all have your sports psychologists and all that as well, and in any sport, success or failure, you learn from failure and disappointment, Robbie, as well, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. And I have a sports psychologist that actually worked with the curlers, a man called Misha Botting. And one of the main things we work on is kind of getting into that optimum state of mind before a race. So you're not really nervous about the race. You're kind of, everything becomes automatic, and you're fully focused on that race. And it's easier said than done. When it comes to Commonwealth Games or an Olympic Games, not only is there a lot of pressure you put on yourself, there's kind of pressure coming from different areas, where it's your friends, family, having a home games, is there a lot of expectation on you? Defending champion, there could be a lot of expectation, but it's something I've worked really closely on, is to kind of, manage that. And so when it does come to the race, I'm fully focused on what to do. I'm not feeling over anxious or too nervous. It's just kind of that optimum state.
But does that also maybe come a little bit with maturity and experience and knowledge and in yourself? Or?
Definitely, yeah. I've been competitive swimming for 15 years now, and every major games I'm learning new lessons. So it's always great to keep learning, because sport swimming is, every year is getting faster and faster. So it's a lot of I've had a lot of experience, 2 Olympic Games, 2 Commonwealth Games, so this will be my 3rd. So hopefully I can use that and deliver a good outcome.
And you've had particular, tragic setbacks in your swimming career as well, haven't you?
Yeah, fortunately my coach passed away about 3 months before the Commonwealth Games in 2010. So this was a huge setback. She'd been battling with cancer for almost 4 years. So that was a real hard thing for me to go through, and to kind of come out and win the gold medal. It was really, all that hard work was down to my late coach, Eileen Adams. So, it was probably one of probably my proudest moment of my life is to win that gold medal for her.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to beat that. And for you, Aileen, you know, in terms of challenges, setbacks, disappointments, is there anything that you can pick on that you've learned from?
Yeah, I think I found it quite hard to sort of when you lose races, it's quite tough, and trying to sort of get your head around that. It does take me quite a while, or it did, to kind of get over the disappointment. But you know, you've just got to learn from the mistakes or whatever, and move on.
And do you think things that you've learned through your sport help you in the rest of your life?
Oh, definitely.
You approach it?
Yeah, I think again, help from John Marchant, the sports psychologist who works for the Scottish Institute of Sport. I've been working with him since probably 2006, and he's really helped me change as a sportswoman, but also probably helped me develop as a person as well. So, you know, when I go back out into the real world, I think I'll be a different person.
And for you, Patrick, is there any advice you'd give the guys out here, any aspiring sportsmen and sportwomen out there in terms of wanting to pursue your dream?
Probably the main thing is just always work hard, because when I first started, I was probably bottom of the pile in badminton, losing to people first round of matches. And then as I went through the age groups, it just started to, through the hard work, I just started to beat the people that I always used to lose to. And now into senior, it's the same, just the hard work will pay off.
And for you, did you have anybody that you aspired to, or did you have a role model, or did you have a sporting hero, or do you have a sporting hero?
Probably current sporting hero would be Nadal, just because he's always on court, he's always showing how much he wants it, he's always fighting till the end, even if he's losing, and just a great sportsman, really.
Never gives up.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike? Is there anybody growing up that you...
in any sport? Or
yeah, just anybody that...
Growing up, I was probably Ali McCoist, but just because I'm a Rangers fan. But recently, the big sporting icons have been probably Chris Hoy and Andy Murray. Probably the Scottish factor added onto it, but I used to play tennis when I was younger, so I remember seeing Andy Murray train and stuff. And he's from near where I'm from Stirling. He's from Dunblane, so it's pretty close. And Chris Hoy, just the fact that he came back so many times and won so many medals, and just like total inspirational sportsman. So.
I thought you were going to start briefing us about a Rangers discussion there. No, we're not going to. Mike, what about you?
In terms of sporting heroes,
yeah.
I mean, for me, it's the same as Mike. It's Chris Hoy, and I was part of Team GB in Athens. I was the wrestling manager, and I wasn't due to be in the village until the middle Saturday of the Olympics. But Chris Hoy was competing the day before that, so I went out 2 days early. I bought one ticket to sit in the velodrome, and I was actually in the velodrome when Chris won his first Olympic gold medal. And that's to this day remains the most amazing sporting thing I've ever seen. I couldn't quite believe I was sitting there watching a Scottish guy do what he did that day, because what he had to do was quite incredible, where the previous 4 guys in the kilo time trial had all broken the previous Olympic record. And he had to go something like 0.2 faster than he'd ever gone in his life, even to get a medal, and he absolutely smashed it. And you know, I think you probably gathered from when I was speaking earlier, I'm a pretty proud Scot, so to be in that velodrome to see that, I don't think, as a single sporting moment, I don't think it will get much better. Seeing Robbie win in Delhi was pretty good.
Yeah, and seeing him in Glasgow.
Seeing him win in Glasgow will be
any
fantastic.
Of these guys. About sporting hero for you, Robbie, was there anybody you looked up to?
Yeah, I mean, in swimming it would be Michael Phelps. I kind of regard him as the ultimate athlete. The guy has 20 Olympic gold medals, and I was actually fortunate enough to live and train with him in October last year, and you know, it's just amazing to train with the guy. He's out of retirement now, so you know, he's a huge inspiration for me, and you know, he's just, at the end of the day, he's a regular guy, but he's just incredibly talented. And of course Chris Hoy as well. You know, he's genuinely such a nice guy as well. I can't believe it. I've met him a few times, and there are some athletes out there that I've done nowhere near as well as Chris Hoy that are quite arrogant, whereas yet Chris Hoy is every right to be arrogant, but he's just such a nice man.
Yeah, and Michael Phelps, you were training with him. You were in the same, not the same event, but the same arena as him. So you're on a par. And I bet there was a time maybe you thought you might not swim at the same time as him.
Yeah, definitely. You know, at the Athens Olympics in 2004, I was 13, 14, and I remember watching Michael Phelps, Ian Thorpe, Peter van den Hoogeband race the 200-metre freestyle, and that was just such an inspirational race. And to come back 10 years later and be able to train with him is quite surreal.
Yeah. And Aileen, you mentioned Sir Chris Hoy as a bit of an icon for you. Was there anybody else, and any members of your family? Because we always think about, sporting heroes that we follow, but sometimes it's support from your family and friends that kind of keeps you going, and where would you be without that?
Oh yeah, definitely family and friends coming out to support me in most of the Paralympics that I've attended has been amazing. But yeah, like Chris Hoy has always been my inspiration, and just as Robbie says, he's such a nice, down-to-earth guy. Whenever you meet him, he'll ask you how's things. He's just so nice, and it's just seeing the way because I was training at Manchester and on the same track sessions as him, and seeing his work ethic and what he puts into it, it pushes you on to be as best as you can be.
I remember him saying to me once that he said 1 gold medal equals 18,000 training hours. That gives you some idea of the level of commitment from these guys. Of all the things you've won, and all those records and everything, is there something that you can pick out so far that you're most proud of?
Yeah, probably winning 2 gold medals in Beijing is the sort of pinnacle of my career, and setting a new world record in the 1 kilometre time trial. So that was like the best.
But why those in particular? Because of the world record?
Yeah, I think it's just everything kind of went well. We went in as defending Paralympic gold medalists in the kilometre, and we repeated that. We broke the world record, and then we also went on to win a gold medal in the pursuit, which wasn't really our event because it's more of an endurance event. So to medal in both was really special.
I'll ask all of you, but in terms of legacy, Michael talked about legacy and giving something back. How important is it? I'll start with you, Robbie. How important is it that you do the things with the kids? You go out to schools. You do things like this to try and inspire others to follow in your footsteps. How important is that?
Yeah, I think it's really important. We're in a kind of privileged position. We can inspire young athletes, and when I was younger, I would have loved to have seen Commonwealth champion and Olympic champion. And that would have really inspired me. And especially in the city of Glasgow, we've got all these fantastic facilities now, and already I train at Tollcross, and there's so many people in the pool there, so kind of the legacy has already started before the Games is gone. And personally, I feel everyone should be a little bit more fitter in the city of Glasgow, and having all these facilities, I'm sure, will help a lot.
We'll see. What about you, Mike? Are you
doing
your bit with schools? And
yeah, I've tried to go into as many schools as possible, and I've got a few more lined up, just to go out promote healthy living as well as the sport of curling. Curling is obviously still a minority sport in Scotland and the UK.
But has there been increased interest since the Olympic?
Yeah, I think so. I think all ice rinks across Scotland have had an increase in people who just want to try it. The Olympics only happens once every 4 years, and that's the only chance we get to showcase our sport. And thankfully this time we've came back with a couple of medals, and hopefully changed the image of the sport as well. It became a young person's game, so hopefully that encourages more people to play as well.
I know you felt, particularly down in England, you had to do a bit of education of the sport post-Olympics. You felt you had to... What's the daftest curling question you've ever been asked?
There's a lot of people ask if you take your own stones. That's a pretty regular one.
Do they realise how heavy they are?
No, not a clue. So you kind of need to explain that.
You carry them in your training kit.
Yeah, exactly. I always ask if you're the sweeper or the thrower and stuff. Nothing too stupid, but it's kind of the ones obvious to curlers that are kind of like, okay. And it's been pretty good. I think a lot of people got really into it and understood well, I don't know, understood the tactics a little bit more, which kind of helped. And I think the commentary was quite good as well.
So the knowledge about the sport is increasing?
Yeah, I think small things like that, just baby steps. It's not going to happen overnight. Everyone's going to take up curling and we're going to have millions of people playing it. It's just kind of hopefully changing the image a little bit and just letting people know that, okay, this isn't a sport for old people. So
in a very much a football-dominated country. Yeah. Michael, how important is it that we're showcasing all these sports this summer, you know, to a public that probably wouldn't go and see weightlifting or, I don't know, you know, all the different sports that are out there?
Yeah, I touched on it earlier. It's why we launched the Go Scotland campaign, because we think it's really important that everybody understands that there are 17 sports in the Games and how hard people work across all 17 sports, and there are heroes in every one of those 17 sports, and people get a chance to see them. One thing I was going to say in terms of legacy, I think everyone is aware the Queen's Baton was launched last October and is currently working its way around the Commonwealth. In Canada at the moment, I think, and about to land in Europe within the next few days. That's in its final regional leg, if you like, and comes to Scotland on the 14th of June. So to be here for 40 days, and we're really looking forward to that, because we're going to use every day, every one of those 40 days to tell the story about sport in Scotland and about our athletes and about how important it is that the country gets behind them. So I actually think, and I know I was lucky enough to be involved in two of the baton bearer selection panels. I chaired the one in Glasgow and one in Edinburgh. Some of the stories behind the people carrying the baton, not just from sport obviously, are quite incredible. So I think we're all heading for 40 days of some amazing scenes and some amazing stories, both sporting and non-sporting around the
And really,
Games.
if we look back, the Olympics in Scotland really only caught a light when the baton came up here, when the flame came up to Scotland, and then everybody was really into it.
Well, exactly, and we think there was a fantastic response to Olympic tots, and we think the response to the baton when it gets. I mean, at 2014, we're really proud of the baton. We think it looks fantastic, and the response it's had across the Commonwealth has been incredible. Some of the images, the still images and the TV images coming back from across the Commonwealth are amazing, and I just can't wait for it to come to Scotland.
Have you a favourite sport?
Apart from wrestling, you mean?
Yes.
I actually saw in Delhi for the first time. I saw international weightlifting live, and Peter Kirkbride won a silver medal in Delhi, and I was there to watch him. And he actually lost the gold. The Samoan guy in his very last lift beat him by 1 kilogram, but Peter was delighted with his silver. But it's such a fantastic piece of theatre, weightlifting. I don't think people realise it's not just big strong guys lifting weights. There is actually a lot of tactics in it, and Peter Kirkbride in particular. Robbie's been on a team with Peter at least a couple of times. He's a real character, and so it's an intriguing sport anyway. And Peter actually adds a new dimension. His reaction every time he gets the bar above his head is worth the admission money alone, and he does it 6 times. So.
Right, well, you've sold it well. Michael, you obviously won't be able to compete because curling's not in the Commonwealth Games, but what will you be looking forward to in terms of watching and keeping an eye on?
I'm a big fan of swimming. I'm not just saying that because Robbie's here, but I like watching the Olympics and the Commonwealth Games as well. It's great to watch. Fan of the rugby as well. Looking forward to watching that. So there's actually lots of sports. I'm a massive sports fan, so we kind of keep an eye on everything. So.
And what about you guys? I mean, you'll obviously be competing. Robbie, what would you otherwise keep an eye on, apart from your own sport, obviously?
With swimming, we're competing the first week, so for me, I'm going to be 100% focused on swimming. I'll be competing almost every single day. So after that, the second week, I hope to really enjoy, all the other sports and, just anything, whatever's going on every single day. I want to know, because that's really the time for me to enjoy the Games, is to see the other sports that are going on. And it's like the Winter Olympics as well. I was fascinated by it. Seeing the curlers was hugely inspirational, and all the other sports, and hopefully we can deliver plenty of medals this summer. I'm sure we can, and it'd be nice to get a few gold medals at the start of the week to kind of take the pressure off a little bit. It is sport at the end of the day, so we'll see how it goes.
And swimming is deliberately, they've adjusted the programme, though swimming is usually early on in the Games anyway, but if swimming can do its stuff and set the team up for the rest of the time.
Yeah, that's right. It's the way with swimming. It's always at the start of the programme, and then the second week, the swimmers tend to go and have a good time.
I think that's an understatement.
It's how it happens, but So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that second week. But up until then, you know, when we're in the games, when we're racing, competing, we're just driven by performance. Very single-minded. You know, with swimming, it's kind of, you know, it's a lonely sport. You're there racing, you know, your competitors. So it's nice when you're finished to kind of sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the games. But up until then, it's just 100% focused on the swimming.
And I guess that's the same for you, Aileen, complete focus on your sport.
Yeah.
What's your schedule like for the games?
I think I'm competing on the first day and then the fourth day. Yeah. So
and then is that's
then
it?
away and just enjoy myself after that.
So what will you, will you stay at the velodrome and watch other cycling action?
Well,
what will you do?
It's only, the velodrome's only on for the 4 days. But yeah, I think there'll be the road race and time trial and stuff as well, and maybe go out to watch maybe the mountain biking. That'd be quite good.
What about things without wheels?
Yeah, I would like to go and watch the weightlifting. I think because it's something that we do as part of our training. You're always like, oh, you know how heavy those weights are that they're shifting, you know, and it's really good to watch.
And Patrick, what about you? What are you looking forward to watching if you get the chance?
Probably be the cycling, because it'll be right next to the badminton, but the badminton schedule's quite full on, I think. I think it runs the full 11 days, obviously depending how you do, but cycling will probably be the main one, and then I'd like to see weightlifting as well.
Oh, you've sold it well, Michael. Any other sports that in particular, that people would normally think of as going along to watch at a Commonwealth? We all know about athletics and swimming and cycling,
In terms of Scottish success, obviously, as we've said, swimming's on early, but judo's also on early because we're really good at judo. And we've deliberately put them up front. We had a choice of judo and wrestling are sharing the same venue, and we chose to put judo on before wrestling. To take a wee bit of pressure off the swimmers. We've got 2 sports where we're expecting those guys, if they perform and if things go well, they'll deliver medals. And Robbie was in the team in Melbourne, and he'll remember this when I say it. The atmosphere in Melbourne, I touched on it earlier, when we won 2 gold medals in the pool on the first night, not only did that inspire the rest of the swim team to put in amazing performances, the whole of Team Scotland actually started walking taller, and we delivered a fantastic overall team performance in terms of overall medals and gold medals. So it's really, I can't say enough how important it is. So our judo guys will deliver. Yeah,
and you know how the media will build it up, and if we haven't won X medals by X time, the more pressure builds on everybody else, and until you just get that one.
Which is what we're trying to avoid. Let's get early success, and that kills that story, if you like, and then we can just focus on day by day how many Scots are in the medal zone and how many can actually just take that little step to deliver.
Is there anything that's worrying you?
Nothing about Team Scotland's worrying me, no, because I'm really, everything I see and hear about how well these guys are training and how well they're performing when they get a chance to perform, really confident that, as I said earlier, we are going to have our best ever medal performance in terms of total medals. And even the games, despite, we won't go into Red Road too much here, if at all.
You mentioned it. I didn't.
But apart from that, I actually think overall the actual organisation of the games has gone remarkably well. Probably the biggest risk, if you like, that we thought a while ago would have been what we were doing at Hampden had never been done before. Building an athletics track on a platform had never been done before. And I've been there a few weeks ago when Jess Ennis was up, and it just looks fantastic. They're actually laying the track. The track's nearly fully laid. And the great thing about that is it's proven again that we are innovators in Scotland, because the International Athletics Federation are so delighted that we've done this, because what it proves is you can actually build an athletics track anywhere. They're thinking it's actually opened up. The number of places they can host major events now is vastly increased because we've proven it can be done. So it's quite nice. Scots are always innovators. It's quite nice.
So we're leading the way in a few areas.
As always.
And in terms of friends and family, Patrick, for you, what are they saying to you, knowing that you're on the brink of hopefully competing?
Always with my family, they used to, when I was playing more Scottish students when I was younger, they were obviously watching, but now obviously travelling to Europe, they hardly see me play, so it's going to be, for them, it'll be nice to actually see me play for once, and just be around the corner just to watch.
So what do you do for the next few weeks leading up to the games? Do you go abroad or are you training all at home?
Not entirely sure. I just know we've got a competition in Spain in a couple of weeks, and then that'll be the last competition. Then after that, it'll just be, I think, 6 or 7 weeks of training, maybe a training camp beforehand.
And what about you, Aileen? What's your programme for the next few weeks?
Well, I've got a time to do in a couple of weeks' time with one of the pilots I'm riding with at the moment, Fiona Duncan. And then, depending on that, they'll decide who I'm riding with for the games. And then I think we go to Holland because they close the velodrome to get refurbished and stuff. I think on about the 21st of June, so I think we're there for about 10 days. And then we come back, and I think we get our kit issue. And then we go to Manchester for another week or so to train.
Every day's accounted for the next number of weeks. And Robbie, what about you? You heading to foreign parts to do any training, or?
Not so much. I train in Tollcross, which is the venue for the swimming. So it's a fantastic place to train. So the argument is that there really isn't not much point going anywhere. But I have a few competitions abroad, which I'm really looking forward to, just to get some nice weather, pretty much. But,
makes getting up easier.
Yeah,
doesn't it?
and so yeah, we have a stint of about 8-9 weeks of just really hard training, and then we have a 3-week taper leading into the games. So at the moment it's really brutal in training, but you know, everything's getting really exciting now towards the Commonwealth Games, so kind of makes it that little bit easier to get up in the morning and to train and put your body through hell, basically.
I think you've heard enough of me. Anybody out there would like to ask any questions of the guys? I don't know if Feel, there we go in the front. There's a microphone on its way.
It's more like a personal question, but it's more about how you guys are. You're all regular folk, and well, Paddy's not experienced it yet, but hopefully will. How does it feel when you've competed and won a medal, and then you come back from being regular folk, and then all of a sudden you're national heroes? How can you cope with that? Or did you experience it beforehand?
To be honest, yeah, I'll go first. I haven't won an Olympic medal, so I think you're really getting that feeling once you get an Olympic medal. After I won the gold in Delhi, it was crazy for a week, you know, it was buzzing, and then unfortunately, you know, a minority sport like swimming, everyone kind of goes, oh, football. So, but in the sport of swimming, I'm not in it for the fame or the money. I'm in it for, you know, I want to do well, and I want to try to do the best I can. So it's not necessarily about dealing with these sorts of issues. I'm not particularly fond of, you know, getting pictures in the paper, because I was one time after the Olympics, I was in the metro coming out of a bar, basically, and they were taking a photo of me, and yeah, it was really strange to see that the next day. So, but fortunately, I'm not used to that kind of attention. So.
And what about you, Michael? I know it's been you've been all over since you won the Olympic medal. So.
It's been pretty surreal. Especially for a curler. It's not used to being well known across the country. As the same as Robbie, don't play curling to become famous, so you just need to kind of take it in your stride and just kind of embrace it, because it's not going to last forever. I think we're kind of highlighting more the fact that Team GB did so well at the Winter Olympics, was best of our results, so we're kind of highlighted more, and we've got on more things, more TV shows and stuff because of that. My skip probably got a wee bit more. Dave Murdoch, he went on Question of Sport and was on a few other TV shows, so he probably had it a wee bit more than the rest of us. But yeah, it's pretty surreal that people recognise you in the street and stuff. It's cool at the same time though. Cool.
It opens a few doors as well to things you might not have got the chance to do. What's the most fun thing you've been asked to do since you got the medal?
Been to a few award shows, which has been pretty good fun, and probably the funnest thing I've done is went to Ibrox and got on the pitch and stuff, and that was pretty cool for me. It's meeting Ali McCoy as well in the director's box. And, yeah,
people are going to start talking about you too. And Aileen, what about you? I mean, winning those medals and then coming back into the real world again. How do you?
It's still a bit weird when you do get recognised. It's nice, you know, when somebody comes up and says, "Oh, I saw you, you know, win your medals, and you know, we're so proud of you." And they know your name if you go into like the shops and stuff. It's quite nice. But yeah, I'm basically quite down to earth. I'm not quite that big-headed or anything, so I just take it in my stride. It's nice when it happens, but it's not what I aim for. It's achieving that's my aim.
And is that the same with you, Paddy, as well? Is that even when you, from what you've achieved so far, and coming back into the kind of student context, people know what you do and what you've been up to?
Probably my flatmate knows, but apart from that, I just kind of back into training, back into normal life. It's just pretty normal.
Okay, anybody else? Another question?
Hi, very interesting points coming from all of you. Just wondering, what was your experience of university sport?
Right, we'll start with you again, Robbie.
Yeah, it was.
Was it all swimming?
It was really good fun. I was in the university swim team, so it was great. We had head-to-head league matches, and James Reid was our captain one of the years, and it's always a good laugh with the university swim team. It's more of a social thing, and I think that's just great for students to do, not take the sport too seriously. And the main thing is just to get these guys fit and active, and having head-to-head competitions is a brilliant way of doing that. And it always came down to the wire, didn't it, James? And it was always, oh, Robbie, can you do this event? Like I end up pretty much racing all the time.
Funny that.
Yeah, but a couple of years we had some really strong swim teams, so we'd go down to Bucks and make top 6. And you're competing against universities like Loughborough, Bath, which are, kind of fully professional sports. So, yeah, I had a fantastic experience at Bucks and league match.
Did you do any other sport here?
No, I never. Unfortunately, swimming has took up all my time. Just swam.
What about you, Aileen? Your experience of sport here?
I don't think there was a cycling club. I don't know if there is one now, but there wasn't one when I was here. Probably just usually made use of the gym, and like I remember doing pop mobility. I don't know if that still happens now. Kind of aerobic classes and stuff. Probably did most of my cycling out with Strathclyde, to be honest.
Right, what were you up to here, apart from badminton?
I've only really done badminton here, but I've only played one British unis, but it was pretty good to play. Also, it takes you away from, it's not as serious, it gets you a good social event as well, it just takes you away from day-to-day training and competition, so it's quite nice just to have a balance between it.
Mike?
I wasn't involved too much with the Strathclyde curling team. I think Sarah might have been, who's down there, but I went to a couple of World University Games, which is great, and the uni helped me out for funding for that, and it was great to represent Strathclyde on the world stage.
Did you do any other university sport?
No, I didn't know. Curling kind of took most time.
I thought there might have been a bit of football in there.
No, I wasn't good at football. I watched it mostly.
And Mike, what about you? I know wrestling was your thing, but did you do any other sports?
Yeah, well, I didn't do anything but sport when I was at university because it was.
So you didn't do any studying either?
No, there is a reason for that. It was at Jordan Hill College, which became part of Strathclyde University later, and I was trained to be a PE teacher. So every single day was like almost like being a full-time athlete. It was sport, and I loved it. The one thing I would say there was, in the 4 years I was doing my degree at Jordan Hill, my wrestling went down the tubes because I was doing too many other things. And I graduated in 81, and having that year and a bit to focus on trying to make the team for 82, being able to actually focus just on one sport again was what really helped me. So trying to play rugby and football and volleyball was doing my wrestling no good whatsoever.
Okay, anybody else? Question?
When you're competing, there are a lot of television cameras there, and there's a lot of people at home watching. Do you feel that pressure, or are you able to just completely block it out?
Right, we'll start with Mike there, because you've got the freshest feeling about that with all those cameras on you in Sochi.
Yeah, probably the first time must have been the Scottish Championships when there was TV cameras on me and you could see yourself on the screen. That was pretty scary, and you're very self-conscious of everything you do on the ice. And but the more experience and more time you're in front of camera, it becomes a lot easier. And it might not seem that way to people who haven't played in front of cameras before, but it definitely does. You just get used to it. Lucky enough, we play a lot in Canada, and it's on TV and a lot there, so we get exposed to it every season. And when it came to the Olympics, it was the same amount of cameras. Fair enough, there was more media attention out with, like the media zone and stuff, but when we were playing, it didn't affect our focus at all. So.
And have you seen much of yourself on telly?
Not on TV, no, because badminton doesn't really get too much TV coverage, but for like the competitions we go into in Europe, a lot of it goes onto like a YouTube channel, so there's always a TV quote, so if you're on that, then you're going to be on YouTube for a few years after. So, but no, it's not. Don't find too much pressure because you're so focused on what you're doing, so it takes your mind away from what's going on around you.
And Aileen?
I think having a visual impairment helps. You're not actually aware of all the crowds that are watching you, so you just kind of focus on what you're doing. So I think I've got an advantage.
Robbie, you'll have seen your races a few times as well, and knowing the cameras are around you.
Yeah, well, when I'm racing, I'm only racing for about 1 minute and 50 seconds, so not too much TV time at all. Really, you're just introduced, and 30 seconds later, you're up on the blocks and you're ready to go. But yeah, the first few times it's quite nerve-wracking, but you train so hard for that moment, you're really not focusing on the TV cameras at all. So.
Question, anyone else? Yeah, there's a microphone coming.
Question for Robbie. Has his technique changed over the years, and do all the elite swimmers in various countries use the same technique?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think generally my technique is quite similar, but throughout the last 5 or 6 years, I've gotten stronger, grown a bit more, so that kind of alters your technique. But you learn your technique from a young age, and I was very fortunate to have great coaches from a young age. I really nailed my technique then. So everything just kind of became automatic, really. You don't have to focus. I don't have to focus on my technique. It's just normal for me to get in and swim. So I hope that answers your question.
So it's not like a golf swing in terms of...
No, I don't think so. But I think the real thing is to nail down the technique from a very young age. And in that way, it becomes automatic. You don't necessarily have to think about it. In terms of a golf swing, yeah, it's very, very technical, but swimming, I don't find it's that bad.
No. Okay, good question. Anyone else? One at the back there, I think. Oh.
Just asking, I know Michael is a PE teacher and a few of us up the back here. For the rest of you, how did your PE teachers, how did your teachers react to you? Did they keep your feet on the ground, or did they really encourage you, help you on? Did the secondary teachers or anybody in that area help you?
Yeah, I always enjoyed doing PE. PE for me was, the highlight of school pretty much. So it was always fun to try a bit of gymnastics or football mainly. So PE teachers were great, very supportive. I wasn't generally that good at swimming until I was about 14 or 15. So, I was just kind of any other swimmer until then. But it was till I was 16 I made my first Commonwealth Games. So that kind of, when it hit home at school, that I was actually not bad. So starting to get a bit noticed then, and definitely the PE teachers were great at my school. I was up at Colts Academy in Aberdeen. So.
Aileen, what about you at school? Were you encouraged by the PE stuff in any capacity?
I just, I went to Euston Grammar, and it was a school which was just a school, ordinary secondary school, but had a visual impairment unit. So I was kind of in amongst all the other ordinary sighted kids. So probably there was more of a reluctance that you couldn't do stuff, more than pushing you to do stuff. And I suppose like cycling is always my love, and you don't really get that in PE. So yeah, it was all right.
Was there someone that encouraged you into cycling at that stage, though, that helped you along?
No, it was such something I just loved, getting out on my bike and just exploring, and just, you know, it was something that I just started myself, really. I suppose the thing that I did get encouraged or wanted to take up was skiing, and the teachers in the visual impairment unit, they set up a ski club, because the guy who was organising the ski trips didn't really want to take the people with visual impairment, so they had to take it on themselves, and they set up. So we started doing skiing, and that's probably my second love is skiing. So I did that from an early age, and they encouraged that.
So we might see you competing that at some point. And Patrick, what about you at school?
Yeah, it's probably similar to Robbie, that I was probably in the PE department most of the time. And they're always supporting, always asking how I was getting on with like tournaments that I was away at or whatever. And even now, my mum still works in the school that I went to, and the PE teachers are still asking her how I'm getting on and stuff. And especially with this year coming up, they're really keen to see if I've qualified and the likes, yeah.
Mike?
I maybe got a different experience because with curling. The teachers didn't really know what it was almost, or they had other sports that took their interest, so I didn't really let them know how I was getting on, and they weren't that interested, so I had a slightly different experience. There was other teachers in the school that took interest. They actually played curling, so they would ask us how we're getting on and stuff, and we'd let them know how we got on the big competitions, but they weren't regularly asking me how I was getting on. But at the same time, I was kind of the same as Robbie. I didn't fully develop my curling until later on in my teenage years, so curling was one of many sports I was playing at the time, so I don't really blame them too much. So.
They should get curling on the curriculum, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that would help.
Yeah.
Any other questions, folks? Yeah, one more.
There's a question for Michael. You have alternates or subs, as people probably know them in curling, and they go to the Olympics. I think the nearest that both the ladies and gents teams got to alternate was you changing your shirt. Do the alternates ever get considered really to go on the ice, or is the team locked as 4 players?
Yeah, it's a good question, because through the last couple of seasons, our team has been a 5-man team. So instead of just 4 players on the ice, like usually a team's just 4. So we had 5 for the last couple of seasons, so we've been rotating all the time, at major championships as well. And we eventually found out this team was working the best. Might not have pleased certain people, but it worked for us. And so when it came to the Olympics, we had no plan to change because this team was playing the best. But you sometimes do see if players aren't playing well enough, or the team isn't playing well enough, the coach tries to bring someone else in to change the dynamics a little bit and just bring a little freshness in. But I think it was just because we're doing well, we never got a game, pretty much. So it's one of those things. It's quite unusual that, I was speaking to Alison before, is not many sports that the substitute or the alternate never gets any time on the ice, so it's quite unusual that way.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? One more? Yeah.
Could I ask a question? We mentioned legacy and leaving a legacy. In the ideal world, this is a question to all the people up there, what would you say would be the perfect scenario for yourselves? Would it be time, money, facilities, something along these lines?
Okay, start this end again. Robbie, you first. Lead the way.
Yeah, for me, purely kind of from an athlete's point of view, hopefully it inspires the next generation of athletes, of Scottish swimmers, curlers, cyclers, badminton players. For me, that's really, really important to get the next generation inspired, because it's going to be, they're your future. They're going to be the ones standing on top of the podium winning gold medals, and part of that is to leave a great legacy behind, and I'm sure we're going to do that. Hopefully the public really gets on board with the Commonwealth Games, and a lot more people start being more healthy and active.
I'm sure Aileen would go along with that as well, in terms of getting people out there and being active.
Yeah, I think, we're not anything special. You know, people just can go and if they train hard, they can achieve, and you know, we have to instill that in young children that, you know, if you train hard and you work as hard as you can and are determined, you can reach the top, and you know, don't be put off by thinking that gold medalists are superheroes, just ordinary people.
And legacy for you?
Yeah, it's probably just getting more people involved in the various sports. Obviously there's 17 sports, so it gives a huge option for young people to be watching either one of those and just maybe want to go down to a sports centre or whatever, give it a go. But again, it's getting people more fit and healthy as well. It's probably one of the key ones.
For you, for Glasgow?
Yeah, I echo everyone's comments there. We're trying to get more people involved in all sport. For curling specifically, it's probably a bit of money to get more facilities, so people have the opportunity to go and try it and to play. And hopefully as well, legacy of changing the image of curling as well. It's a lot of people don't want to play it because they don't see it as being cool or whatever, and embarrassed to play it. So hopefully I can contribute, and all of us as young fit athletes can contribute to a new generation of people growing up and not seeing curling as like they don't want to play it. So there's kind of equal power to all the other sports that people like playing. So.
And Michael, it's a good way to finish, because you're talking about legacy, and if we can get everybody out and being active, we have the facilities now there in Glasgow to do these sports, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I touched on earlier, it's two things for me to answer the question. One is, and most of the athletes, if not all of them, have said this, it's the inspirational part. And whenever I hear people, some cynical people say that the games can't leave a legacy or they don't inspire, I'm actually probably a really good example of it. I was 12 years old in 1970 when the games first came to Scotland, and I won the Scottish under 5 stone wrestling championship that year, 32 kilos for those of you who are a bit younger. And I was given a ticket to the opening ceremony of the 1970 games, and I had never heard of the Commonwealth Games until that year. And just being there and watching the Scottish team come in is what inspired me to work really hard at my sport, because I wanted to be just like those guys, and did it 12 years later. And the final part of that for me, I touched on it earlier about the system we've created, which I'm really proud of. For me, the real legacy will be in the 2022 Commonwealth Games, which will either be in Durban, South Africa, or Edmonton in Canada. I want to see Team Scotland doing just as well as we're going to do this year. That will be the legacy where we'll have done it in 2018, and eight years from now, we're still doing it. We're actually one of the leading Commonwealth nations. That for me will be a real legacy.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, folks, that concludes this part of the evening. A very big thanks from me to all our guys, fantastic university sporting greats, and Michael as well. Thank you for being so open and entertaining, and good luck on the journey ahead, whichever journey you're on. I'll now hand over to Neil Sturrock, the Head of Centre for Sport and Recreation, for an official vote of thanks. He's skulking in there. Neil.
Wow. Robbie and some of the panellists talked about inspiring the next generation. Stan, Vez, never mind the next generation. What about us? Are we not inspired by that? Absolutely fantastic. Thank you very, very much. James started at the start by saying thanks to the Alumni Fund for the work that it does in supporting our student sports clubs. I need to reiterate that because the Alumni Fund gave a significant amount of money to our elite athletes, and both Robbie and Patrick have benefited from that, and unfortunately Michael missed out on it, and that just proves to us that there's an incredible amount of sporting talent at Strathclyde, and we need to work harder to make sure that we pick it all up so that the people do benefit from not just the academic flexibility that the guys have talked about, but also some financial rewards that we're able to give, although it is, I have to say, not hugely significant. I probably need to say thanks to our academic colleagues, because I think now, and certainly over the past 6 or 7 years, the acknowledgement of the commitment that you've heard that these top-class athletes have to make to their sport is significant, and the understanding from the university that what that takes, and the allowance that they're starting to make to be able to provide part-time working, missing, or not necessarily missing exams, but having exams written for them
or indeed expiry or dates for their hand-ins and essays and things being changed, I think is really significant. This evening came about an idea that James and I had about, you know what, we think we've got some really talented sports people that have gone through Strathclyde. It's Commonwealth Games year. It's Strathclyde's Jubilee, 50th anniversary of the university getting its charter. Wouldn't it be good to try and pull together some of these people? It might actually be a good event. Wow. I don't know of any place else that could put together a panel like this. We've got alums from some time ago, and Vez remembers some time ago, Michael, but more modern people and people here who are in the current students, and Alison, who has very strong links with us because her son's at Strathclyde and she actually has some links with the business school in terms of having done some work for us. When we sat together, we wanted it to be a discussion like this. We wanted to try and pull things out. We thought about who would be able to do that, and I think if you'll join me in thanking Alison, because I think she's did a fantastic job on that. So Alison, thank you very much. Our speakers, I approached all personally, and so thank you for even just thinking about doing it on our behalf. Strathclyde students have a hashtag. It's on Twitter, Stan, Vez, it's a way of communicating, but it's okay. And the Strathclyde hashtag is "We Bleed Maroon," because that's our colour and that's what it means to us. And Michael talked about the pride, as did all the people, about the pride in representing Scotland. The pride I have, and the guys that go to the Sports Union general meetings and other meetings hear me talking about it, I am so proud of We Bleed Maroon because of the Strathclyde aspect, and that includes the Jordan Hill thing. This is the Maroon Stars that bleed maroon for us. This is the pinnacle of our top people. So could I ask you to join with me and thank our speakers this evening as well. A couple of things for me very briefly to finish. We currently have, I think at the moment, 3 Strathclyders in Team Scotland that's been announced. We have David Smith, a high jumper, who was announced in the first tranche of athletics competitors early on, and Robbie and another swimmer, Rory Lamont, already picked, and we're hoping that another gentleman here will be picked very soon, and we have a number of other prospective Strathclyders in athletics teams to come, and hockey sports, and some of the others. I remember at college one of my lecturers referring me to a book that said, "Nice guys finish last." Well, obviously they don't. I think we've got some really nice people, but I think there's a determination and making sure things get done. Great role models for us. So if we take away a message, it's about commitment, it's about working hard. I think for me, I'm especially proud that the university now recognises sport to the extent it does. We had a lady in the audience who, because she was a triple world junior curling champion, was probably our first sports person to be recognised across the university by being Strathclyder of the Year. So Sarah McIntyre was, while she was here, acknowledged by the university as a highly talented sports person and became Strathclyder of the Year. We have a young lady on the panel here who was our alumnus of the year in recognition of her sporting attributes some years ago. And I'm delighted to inform you that this tradition has continued, that the Michael Goodfellow and Claire Hamilton, who unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, are to have their achievements honoured by the university at the July graduations, when they will be presented with Alumnus of the Year Award 2014. So I think it's fantastic for the university. Can I ask you to congratulate Michael and, in our absence, Claire, on their award? ladies and gentlemen, it leaves me to say thank you to you. We bleed maroon.